Hi everyone, it's Alex here from Vaimo. Thanks for joining us. We're going to give it a minute or two to let everybody join, and then we'll be back with you. So for those of you who have just joined us, it's Alex here from Vaimo. We've got about 40 people on live at the moment. We're going to give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. Okay, so thanks for joining, everyone. This is Magento and Vaimo webinar looking at performance, UX and CRO of the Magento 2 platform. Thanks for joining us. On the call today, I'm joined by Katy Wilson from Magento. Are you there, Katy? Maybe Katy is muted at the moment, so I'll go over to Georgia, who is from our strategy team.
Hi there, my name is Georgia Barry. I'm working with the strategy and consultancy team at Vaimo UK. I come from mostly client side and starting to now get to understand agency life. Yeah, I've got a couple other colleagues on the call. I'm going to hand over to Angel's Vicente, who is our UX designer.
Hi, I'm Angel. I'm a UX visual designer at Vaimo. I'll be talking a little bit about the advantages of Magento 2 UX. And yeah, my background is in design, and I've been designing for Magento and e-commerce for more than 6 years now.
Okay, brilliant. So yeah, myself, I work on the sales and strategy team here at Vaimo. I come from a UX and a CRO background, working in the biometrics research space. I think the last person we went for is Katy. Are you there, Katy?
Yeah, hi everybody, if you can hear me. Great to be in today. I'll be walking you through Magento 1 and Magento 2 and reasons why we should migrate.
Brilliant. So yeah, that leads us on to a rough agenda. So we've got 3 key sections that we're going to break down into. So Katy's going to be running us through Magento 2, some of the changes from Magento 1. And then over on our side at Vaimo, we are going to share with you some of our learnings from over 130 implementations on Magento 2, and we're going to take a focus on the UX, CRO, and kind of performance benefits we've seen on the M2 section. And then finally, we've got a Q&A section at the end. So throughout the webinar, there's a couple of polling questions that the team will send around. So feel free to answer those. And then if you have any questions for either myself, Georgia, or Angels, or Katy, put those into the Q&A section, and we'll pick out a few and try and answer those at the end. So yeah, that's the rough agenda. So I'll hand over to Katy now from Adobe Magento, and to run us through the changes.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Alex. So again, thank you very much to Vaimo for hosting this webinar today alongside Magento. It's great to be here. Vaimo are one of our global elite partners, and we do only have 7 globally. So Vaimo have got a lot of experience here migrating their customers from Magento 1 to Magento 2. So you are definitely in good hands when it comes to speaking about Magento. So what, as Alex said today, we want to talk through today is the current state of Magento 1 and where we're at with Magento 2, and really what are the problems that we're actually trying to solve with Magento 2 and the architecture behind that, and how that relates to you and to your business. And then also on to the highlights of what the value proposition and what the messaging is here. Okay. So Magento Commerce and our ecosystem, and what does that actually mean? So Magento partner ecosystem, for one, we've spoken about Vaimo there and their global elite status, but the Magento ecosystem is what we would class as a true differentiator. So it is one of the broadest and deepest networks of solution extensions that we do have in the commerce world. So when we look at other platforms, Magento does stand unbounded, unmatched, and parallel in terms of how we're able to help you scale and drive your businesses with lots of vetted extensions. So should you want to add additional customization, then Magento has lots of solutions to offer on our marketplace, and that incorporates payment extensions. So you'll be familiar with the likes of PayPal and various different payment options that you've got, and they are all there for you to take advantage of. But what we see is that the dynamics of commerce are really shifting, and that's simply because the biggest challenge that retailers are faced with today is really how much more demanding consumers have become, mainly through online. And consumers are really hyper-connected, so they're always comparing prices, they're taking personalization and recommendations from friends and reviews, social influencers, and they're much more demanding when it comes to delivery and service. And that creates real pressure for retailers to be on their game, as you know. So having that customer-centric commerce approach is really more important than ever. We have things as well like Black Friday, which are key events in the year. And that really shows that customers and consumers are researching retailers and bargains more quicker than ever before. So again, looking at key events through the year, it is more important that as a business we are on top of our game and staying fresh with the technology that we are working with. Let me just bring up the screen here. So what we are trying to do with Magento 1 is to really help you as the decision maker in looking at an investment decision as a critical than any other decision, and must really be approached with a long-term perspective. Because to outpace the competition and keep in front of the evolving consumer behavior, the commerce investment is critical to that decision. So it really is about taking a long-term view across the technology and across the different relationships that you have. So if you're using Magento 1 today, you will know that there are a number of pain points that have been there. So in terms of looking at the shopping experience that we've seen, it might be that you have not been able to scale the business fully by using Magento 1 and the core solution. So you've probably had to customize it and add a large number of extensions just to bring you up to speed on what's not been available native to the platform. And of course, when you have too many extensions, that slows down the solution. It's also about having to be looking at growing faster sales and how you might be dependent on quite a few manual or IT dependent processes simply because they're not necessarily native to the platform. So you're always having to look to other solutions to help conversion and optimize capabilities. Magento 1 also wasn't particularly fast. It was relying on an older version of PHP for one, which has now been end of life, as we know, from September last year. But when you were trying to do things like create campaigns or price rule changes, or make non-intuitive administration decisions on the platform, it wasn't particularly fast, it wasn't particularly smart, which all leads down to not really be able to have performance at scale. So again, going back to the aging code base and architecture, that was one of the key decisions that we made when moving to Magento 2, that we needed to be able to offer our clients more competitive, to ensure that optimization was hosted at those relationships. So what do we do differently in Magento 2 to address those pain points? So going back to those delivering better shopping experiences. So we have brought into Magento 2 what we call our page builder solution. So this is really able for you to do drag and drop functionality, embed videos, quickly make changes, quickly add content. And that really puts the power back in your hands, back in the marketers and salespeople in your team that are probably driven by KPIs. So it really helps them to make quick changes on that platform. We also included what we call a staging and preview functionality, which basically means that you're able to make changes there on a staged environment and not do them on a live environment. So if you're wanting to set maybe different promotions for a month's time, maybe in line with a specific time of the year, you're able to do that and check it first before you move to a live environment. And that's proved really successful for a lot of our clients. Magento is also looking at progressive web apps as well, because we see that the future of commerce is within this headless environment. And Magento around 2 years ago signed an agreement with Google. So we were one of the first platforms to really embrace what progressive web apps had to offer. And everything from a front end is also responsive. In terms of being able to help grow faster, we have a fully integrated B2B capabilities, so that we have understood really that there was a gap in our previous Magento 1 solution where we were really targeting B2C clients. So we've really added some functionality based in the module now for the Commerce edition, where around 75% of what a typical B2B user you would find native to Magento 2. And that's cited by Forrester and Gartner if you do read those industry reports. In addition, we have the instant purchase. So just relaying that back to the ecosystem that we mentioned before and why it's really important. When Amazon lost its patent for the Pay Now button, our ecosystem of developers was able to quickly, in 2 weeks, build and install instant purchase within the Commerce edition. So that really is going at the speed of now and really trying to make sure that we have got the latest functionality embedded. That's now integrated with Magento shipping as well, and across some of the social and marketplace channels that is coming in the latest versions, which is Magento 2.3.1. So you will find additional features and functionality coming in our next edition with regards to marketplaces, so that you can then utilize those channels and have them harmonious. We're also, from a smarter, faster operational perspective, the admin panel has completely changed as well, so it's much more user-friendly and touch-enabled. We've also added in multi-source inventory, so for those clients that do have multi-store, you are able to, sorry, that's just clicked forward, bear with me 1 second. Sorry, it just jumped a bit. It just jumped forward there, beg pardon. Sorry about that, if you can still see my screen there. Basically, we have changed the multi-source inventory to allow you to be able to do additional ability with your stores as well, such as click and collect. So that's now part of the core. And in terms of the scale, it is built on the latest version of PHP, allowing us to have performance and scale. It is fully PCI compliant and fully data-based capability as well. So on this slide here, what we're really talking about from a customer's perspective is a comparison between Magento 1 and Magento 2. So it is quite a technical slide, but of course Vaimo will forward these slides to you afterwards. But it's really looking at growth opportunities. So some of the features that we had taken away from Magento 2, such as the limited WYSIWYG, the themes, the aging, we have now completely amended with Magento 2, such as the drag and drop, the modern themes, the progressive web app support. So all these are really designed to help you and your business to grow. In terms of looking at the operational cost and resourcing into your business, it's looking at some of the site changes, the ongoing maintenance, the code base. We really understood the old framework was just not working for your modern business as it was today. It was quite dated, not particularly optimized. So with Magento 2, we have really replaced that with a fast and intuitive, much more native features to help, much more simpler upgrades, which of course reduce cost as well. So we've really taken those best practices and bundled them and put them into Magento 2. So it's really looking at this slide both from a growth perspective, but also in terms of your business, looking at actual operational costs and resourcing. So Magento 2 is completely different structurally to Magento 1, and that Magento 1 really was just looking at that digital piece. So it was only really concerned with your online store. But as we moved into Magento 2 is more of a suite of solutions. So we'll see here within this quadrant that Magento Commerce is sat here centrally, but it is supported by other features and functionality that you can take into your store, such as if you're a B2B store doing order management, we have a SaaS solution that is a separate instance from Magento that's connected, that will do click and collect. It will do multi-warehouse, multi-distribution centres, and that really then helps tie into your Magento store. So for those that are B2C and have lots of shops, we can provide you the omni-channel solution. If you're B2B merchant with many warehouses or distribution centres, then we can optimise and work with you on the order management. In terms of business intelligence, that comes as standard now as part of Magento Commerce. So it is separate from Google Analytics. It takes Google Analytics into mind, but it is also looking at what is native in Magento, what's actually happening within your Magento site. And that's surrounded by all of these extensions as well. So social that we mentioned earlier, and marketplaces, in terms of the drop shipping. All of these now sit as a suite of solutions which are really helping to help our shoppers engage and scale their businesses. And that is all native to Magento 2. And of course, it is hosted on the cloud. So as we mentioned before, with regards to the ecosystem, Vaimo is one of our global elite partners, and they have been front of mind when it comes to Magento 1. So our platform is 3.5 years old, and Vaimo were one of the first partners to embrace Magento 2 and start to implement on that. So it is by no way in mind a new technology at all. 3.5 years has gone very quickly, but in that time, we are on Magento version 2.3. So there has been lots of changes within that time, lots more enhancements. But with Vaimo, you really are working with a partner that knows this system back to front. There are other partners that we do work with from a technology perspective as well. So I've mentioned earlier on the call about lots of payment providers that we have, such as maybe WorldPay, Klarna add-in on the payment side. We work with the best of breed when it comes to email marketing, such as Mailer, cross-sell when it comes to Nosto. So these technology partners are really key for Magento, because it's really helping our customers be able to get best of breed technologies that they can connect using a partner such as Vaimo to bring them into their platform and get the best experience. In addition as well, there is the Marketplace app. So for things that aren't native, you can go onto Marketplace and be able to extend your store. Again, with applications that have been fully checked to make sure that they are of quality, make sure that there's not plagiarism in place. So you've got that at your fingertips. Magento are the only platform to be able to have a marketplace solution in place. So I want to touch quickly on Adobe, because I don't want it to be the elephant in the room in any way. So of course, Magento were acquired last year by Adobe. And one of the things that I'm asked quite frequently as one of the partner managers is what that actually means for you as the customer. So it really means that Adobe do not believe in maintaining the status quo. They are constantly innovating, constantly doing research and development on the platform. And so the reason that they bought Magento is that they see such synergies between our two solutions. Magento are leading in open source. We do have the ecosystem in place, and they really want to leverage that and harness that. So Adobe are investing in Magento, and already we're seeing more people working on our product, more investment in the solution to bring increased features and functionality. And as we step further into 2019, 2020, what we're looking to do is to take some of the Adobe solutions, for example, A/B testing, which is currently missing from Magento 2, and look to put that as part of the Magento Commerce offering. So it really is important to see where Magento has come from 3.5 years ago with Magento 2. Adobe really saw the growth there and saw that, that we had a great solution for them to work with their customers. And in time, we will take some of their great things with analytics and target doing, Adobe Experience Manager, and really look to add those into Magento to widen our customers' reach and to really empower experience-driven commerce. So in terms of roadmap, again, I'm asked quite frequently with Adobe, does that mean that Magento are investing in your own roadmap? Absolutely, we are. So there are two separate roadmaps. There is an Adobe roadmap and Magento, and then there is an overarching roadmap where it will incorporate both. But as we're speaking at the moment, the roadmap that we are working on is absolutely about Magento 2 and how we can continue to deliver superior experiences, omni-channel innovation, and commerce intelligence. So that really is working about delivering best-in-class B2C and B2B. So some of those are the marketplace solution that I talked about, so that you can bring all of those channels into one. We are enhancing the omni-channel innovation, so that multi-source inventory regarding delivering anywhere, managing your products, orders and fulfillment. We are doing additional features and functionality to enhance that. And from a commerce intelligence, this is where we're looking to deploy some of the Adobe suites, such as the analytics and target and AI, to really help you make intelligence decisions in your platform. And these are just some statistics that I think are really useful to have. So these are clients that were on Magento 1 and have since moved over to Magento 2. So we can see there's a wide range of clients on here, from Oliver Sweeney, that's very well-known UK brand, Neom Organics. And what they have said is, since migrating from Magento 1 to Magento 2, they have seen on average a 49% growth when it comes to revenue and sales generation. They've also seen a 39% growth when it comes to conversion rate, and they've also seen a 10% growth in average order value. So these are some fantastic case studies here to really show that those customers that have made that transition, 3.5 years ago up to most recently with some of these brands, are really seeing the benefits of moving across to Magento 2. And what I wanted to leave you here was a real highlight of a brand that's really embraced and leaned into Magento 2 quite early doors with Vaimo, which is a brand that we'll probably all know on this call, which is Helly Hansen. And their business challenge was really about creating a brand that was really commerce focused and brand focused, so that they were really engaging with their clients, and they needed to unify many of their sites, including the B2B site, to give it the same look and feel as their B2C. And so they needed to have multiple storefronts and multiple language, which we can do absolutely out of the box with Magento 2. So there is a video as well with Helly Hansen that I could probably get across to the people on this call today, where we can show some of their what they're doing today. But what they have seen is a 48% increase in the traffic that comes onto their sites, which in turn has led to a 32% increase in transactions from B2B and B2C. And if you look at the statistics from mobile, they have seen a real increase in uptake there. So 68% increase in transactions from mobile. So some fantastic results there that Vaimo has managed to deliver in quick time. And they were not able to do that in Magento 1. So I hope that's given you a good flavour of some of the things that we have done and are doing. And of course, we'll come into the Q&A towards the end of this session. But thank you for listening, and I will hand back to Alex from Vaimo.
Brilliant, thanks Katie. And I think it was myself who skipped a couple of slides there, so apologies for that. Okay, so now we're going to move over to a little bit about Vaimo. If you've not heard of Vaimo before, we've got a really brief slide giving you an overview of us. So as Katie he mentioned, we've been in the Magento space for 11 years now. We've been launching clients on the Magento platform, on Magento 1 and on Magento 2 for a number of years. In terms of the ecosystem, we're very much embedded in the ecosystem, and we have over 150 certified Magento developers in our company. And over the years, we've built many e-commerce websites. So we've delivered over 200 digital commerce sites globally, and we've been fortunate enough to be able to expand globally. And so we've got 14 different territories that we operate in, but of course we're a global business. The latest 2 additions that I had to add onto this slide there were the Netherlands and the Poland office that we've opened very recently. So as a company, we're 400 people growing. We've got targets to grow that to 500 this year. And as Katy's mentioned, we are one of the 7 global elite partners in the ecosystem. So we're very much embedded in the Magento ecosystem, and we've got a lot of kind of shared knowledge and shared experience. So what we're going to focus on today is some of the features of Magento 2, but specifically looking at how the functionality that they have folded into the core offering of Magento, the suite of products, how that improves the overall user experience to your customers. And then we're also going to touch on performance, because performance is really obviously quite important, and Katy mentioned it a couple of times, things like upgrades to PHP version and having a faster site. And then finally we'll end with a Q&A session. So we've had a couple of questions come in throughout Katy's sessions. If you think of any more, please feel free to submit them, and yeah, we'll try and get an answer for you towards the end. So what are some of the UX improvements that we've seen by building on Magento 2? So I'll hand over to Angels, who's with us, and I think she's going to run us through some of those.
Yeah, so the most important major improvement from a UX point of view is the checkout. So by default, Magento 2 offered a 6-step accordion checkout, which in some cases wasn't the smoothest in terms of creating conversion. So Magento 2 offers a simplified 2-step flow, which comes as a standard. So that's a massive improvement. One of the important things of the flow is that offers guest checkout by default. So from a UX point of view, forcing customers to create an account is usually one of the quickest ways for basket abandonment, and Magento 2 offers an assumptive guest checkout, which is quick, it's easy, and it's user-friendly. And of course, the fact that it only has 2 steps offers a much more smooth experience on mobile phones. So just as an example, at Vaimo we have the Royal Academy of Arts shop, and they migrated from Magento 1 to Magento 2 with us, and with the new checkout they reached up to 25% increase on conversions. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite a big change, and a really good example there of how on Magento 1 you maybe had to rely on third-party extensions to improve the checkout, but in Magento 2 they've folded that functionality into the offering. So one of the other great pieces of functionality that a lot of our clients we've migrated have really loved is the page builder. So page builder is out on version 2.3, but being a global elite partner at Vaimo, we are fortunate enough to get early access to the Magento roadmap and also early access to code. So we've been working with the page builder functionality already, and we've got a couple of customers live with the page builder functionality. So hopefully you can all see the video playing there. Hopefully that's streaming okay. But this gives you kind of a really brief overview of this click and drag, really intuitive functionality. And what that means from a user experience point of view is that you're able to deliver the right message to your customers really easily without having to spend too much of your time on development development time, you're able to kind of get a template build, and then using your own marketing and your own e-commerce teams, able to really quickly build out an experience that your customers are expecting from you.
I just want to chime in there. It's Georgia speaking. I think another frustration felt by a lot of teams who have to maintain and manage websites is the late nights and the synchronization across teams of who's updating pricing, who's going to load the content, and when are we all ready and who presses that green button. This allows you to schedule all of your pricing updates, all of your content updates, your category updates to all trigger at a particular time. It can be midnight or whatever that time is that you need. But a huge, huge cost and time saving to you and your teams, and a lot less coordination, and ultimately giving the customer what they need when they need it.
Cool. And yeah, just to build onto that, one of the really powerful functions that our customers have benefited from is the inbuilt personalization. So building on the foundation of the page builder, giving you that flexibility, you're now also able to personalize that experience to your customers, so that based on attributes and rules that you might want to set, you can segment your customers and target them with content and promotions accordingly.
Yeah, normally this is something that you would have had to found a third-party tool or vendor, or you would be, trying to guess manually what your customers want to be seeing. But this is, back to Katy's point, this is a suite and not a shop. And with Magento 2, you're really getting a full service solution.
Great. So I think Georgia mentioned it earlier, but here's kind of an overview of the staging functionality. So yeah, like I say, you don't need teams sitting up at 1 o'clock in the morning to try and push out content to deliver it at the right time. You can deliver the right experience, the right message at the right time to your customers. And all of this functionality that we've shown is out of the box functionality, which means that your time to market as a retailer is shortened, and you can really kind of deliver content quite quickly.
Yeah. And that's had a preview as well. In most instances, there's someone who needs to sign off on the look and feel and how many products are going to be in the category or what the content's going to look like. So being able to quickly shoot that off, get your approval, schedule everything, and then everyone can go home at 5 o'clock. Probably not.
Great. So some of the other ones.
Yeah, just before we jump into that, just quickly to add to the page builder, from a just pure UX perspective. We've said that, but just to highlight it once more, it's really important to be able to offer targeted content. So just to show for the user what is relevant to them, and just help them to offer them the optimal flow to finish the purchase. And and also the capability to create powerful content, to create like videos, animations, GIFs in a very optimal way. That's all of this really improves the UX and helps to deliver powerful messages and powerful experiences.
So some of the other improvements, there's lots of them, but I know instant purchase is one that Katy mentioned that was built by the community within 2 weeks. Maybe you could. Instant
purchase is really good. Obviously for determinate targets and not all the products, but for the products that is suitable, it's really good in terms of reducing even more the checkout time. It's similar to the one-click ordering system. And just as a fact, so some merchants who have tested this instant purchase, they have found that they can shorten the time up to 90%. So if the user knows what they're looking for, especially also in B2B or B2C cases, you know what you are looking for and you know what you want. You just don't need to go through 5 steps. You just click once, next one, move to the next. Then other UX benefits are the loyalty rewards. So again, for some clients and for some brands, it's really important to help the user, to convert the user into a loyal customer and to get the user with the brand. So obviously loyalty is the way to go. And then other UX benefits that our clients have found beneficial are the multiple wish lists, easy returns, gift registry, and gift options. So really standard e-commerce, really useful.
Brilliant. So I see in the chat there's a lot of talk around B2B and B2C functionality, and I think we're going to have a couple of questions on those towards the end. But it is worth mentioning that in Magento 2 they've built on the B2B suite of products that allow you to deliver a user experience to your B2B customers very similar to that of your B2C experience, because at the end of the day, a buyer working in a B2B environment still shops on Amazon, still shops on John Lewis. They're used to, their level of expectation is quite high, and they expect that their B2B buying journey should be just as good as the experiences that they are experiencing elsewhere in the marketplace. So we've got an example here of Bauhaus that maybe you could run us through.
Yeah, I mean, just, along the same lines, what you say, like at the end of the day, B2B users are users, so they should be able to enjoy an optimized flow, and they are using the site to do their purchase and their flow. Also on these lines, as a fact, like 61% of the research of the B2B is done on the mobile phone. So like usually B2B themes and flows are very focused on desktop and using all the space of the desktop, because most of the users will use the platform at work from a desk. But usually the mobile experience is forgotten, and we think, and Magento thinks it's really, really important to be able to offer the same smooth interactions also mobile, because the mobile can be also used to make your decision on what you buy and how you buy. And then I think Alex is gonna talk more in detail about the specific features that are offered by default.
Yeah, so some of the specific B2B features that have come out in Magento 2 are things around request a quote or quick order, ordering by SKU, putting forward requisition lists to allow your B2B buyers to make quick purchases. But going back to the point that, a B2B buyer and a B2C buyer, they're both humans, they both expect a similar experience. There's no reason that some of this functionality couldn't be used on your B2C website as well to build out a user experience there. Okay, so that's some of the functionality that's been rolled into Magento 2. It's some of the kind of core functionality our merchants have pulled out. And it's some of the ones that we've seen kind of some of the best wins for. I think what I'm seeing from the chat that you guys are all having like a really good conversation is kind of belief that this is all core Magento 2 functionality, and it is. A lot of the functionality we've shown, all of the functionality we've shown you is out of the box, again reducing your time to market. So. Speed.
The topic of speed.
Speed. So we've approached speed in two ways over the next couple of slides. So many people know that speed is inversely related to your conversion rate. The faster you get, the better your conversion rates go, generally. Back in 2009, Amazon did a speed study, and they found for every 100 milliseconds of latency, it cost them 1% in sales. But that was back in 2009. We're 10 years on from that stat now. But it's one that's been around for years, and people like to roll out. In 2017, a Katy study found that for every 100 milliseconds of latency, it reduced the conversion rate by 7%. So what that shows us is between 2009 and 2017, whilst the 100 millisecond latency was the same, the impact that had on your sales and conversion rate was significantly greater. So maybe that's a sign of us all becoming a little bit less patient and us all wanting things to load kind of immediately, but it's a really, really important metric. So yeah, here's a Google mobile page load benchmark from 2018. Happy to share this round if anybody's kind of interested. But Magento also recognised from a performance point of view that speed is crucial, and it's because of that they've launched, in conjunction with Google, the PWA Studio, to allow you to build, a user experience on the front end that is lightning fast, but also delivers the experience that your customers expect.
Yeah, on speed, I think a lot of clients, a lot of retailers have spent a lot of time focusing on the next big thing, the bells and whistles, the new tools, the fancy footwork. And as a result, a couple of years down the line, you suddenly start to realize all these little additions are starting to slow down bit by bit. And I think we're at a point now, and I'm seeing a definite trend amongst clients, where the focus is really, everything is looking at speed right now. How do we optimize product pages? How do we optimize our checkouts? How do we, reduce server time and loads? And how do we just deliver the absolute best experience? Exactly what Alex said. I think revolution of AMP pages and PWA is making us getting used to using native apps which respond immediately. In our phones, we don't understand. The everyday customer doesn't understand why a mobile website can't be as fast as an application on their phone, for instance. So these are really important topics that we're actively addressing with a lot of our clients at the moment.
Great. So just to get a bit geeky for you out there, and Katy mentioned it a couple of times. Magento released some stress testing results comparing Magento 1 to Magento 2, and the summary of that is pretty obvious there from the chart on the right. So Magento 2 on PHP 7 is delivering close to 250,000 orders an hour, compared to Magento 1 on PHP 5. It's sitting at around 120,000 orders per hour. So there's a significant increase in performance by migrating from Magento 1 to Magento 2. Caveat that with saying that an upgrade in PHP version is really important as part of that process. But now at Vaimo, when we do upgrades for our clients, we're also going to PHP 7 as kind of standard best practice, because it has such a big impact on performance. And whilst these metrics may sound huge, 250,000 orders per hour, the principle and the performance applies for retailers of all sizes. Everyone can benefit from the technical improvements. Yeah.
The architecture is completely new. I mean, the solutions architects that we talk to in our day-to-day have nothing but praise for all the things that we don't see under the hood, and how much easier their lives have been made just in terms of developments and integrations. Speed will be felt by customers.
Yeah, brilliant. So I think you pulled out some stats from some of the migrations we've done, Georgia.
Yeah, so this is from Client X, had some speed metrics that we pulled out post their migration to M2. So we have average server connection time that decreased by close to 19%, average server response time decreased by 69%, page download time decreased by 11%, and page load time decreased by 13%. There are so many positive stories, I think, around speed in particular, where customers have moved to Magento 2 and obviously not done any of the sort of naughty things that you don't want to be doing to slow down your websites. They don't have too many third parties. But these are some really, really great numbers and positive stories, I think, around speed and migration to M2.
Yeah, so like I say, Magento 2 has been completely refactored from the inside out, the way it's built, and that shows in its kind of technical results on stress testing, performance, and even from the live results that we're getting from the customers that we've migrated. But when we talk about speed and speed in relation to conversion rate, it's also kind of really important to think about kind of time to market and how quickly can you get and react to the market changes. So Katy mentioned about having the ecosystem, and when the patent at Amazon ran out for the instant purchase buy button, that the community rallied, and within 2 weeks were able to develop and launch a solution for that. And that's a really great example of how working on a platform that has been refactored to allow us to develop quickly, and having the power of the whole ecosystem really allows you to deliver a solution and get to market quickly.
I just wanted to add to that. A lot of clients are asking, the first question is, why am I paying for an entire re-platform? This is just a move from 1 to 2. It's the same platform. It's still Magento, and the new architecture and the different code that it's all been written in is pretty much the reason. If you are considering a move from M1 to M2, consider it a re-platform. It is a brand new environment that you're basically building off of the backbone of something completely different and foreign to what you've built on before.
Yeah, that's a really great point. All the functionality that we've shown as well allows you to, re-platform. It's going to be a slightly larger project than upgrading a version number, but you're getting so much more for your money, functionality-wise. And just one other thing to mention on the time to market. So at Vaimo, like I said, we've been operating for 11 years now. And over that time, we have a strong ethos internally of not reinventing the wheel. And over that time, that's led to what we call Vaimo products and tools. And on Magento 1, we developed literally hundreds of additional bits of functionality that we saw across all of our commerce clients that was shared amongst them. And we built out modules under the Vaimo products and tools that we were able to distribute to our clients so that they could benefit from our shared learnings, but also allow them to release functionality quicker on the Magento 1 platform. So I'm told that we have roughly 1,300 components and extensions on Magento 1, and that we are in the process of migrating those over to Magento 2. Some of them we won't need to take anymore. So Vaimo CMS is now being superseded by Page Builder because it's a great piece of functionality within the core. But the team tells me that we're about 20-25% of the way through migrating our roughly 1,300 Magento 1 components onto Magento 2. And what that means for our clients and the projects that we work on, it gives us the ability to accelerate even more on top of Magento 2 your time to market. So when we have clients that have a hard deadline, we're able to really pull out all the stops to get something built and launched quickly. So another point to mention is, and this is plays to the completely changing framework of Magento 2 and the ability to be able to develop faster. At Vaimo, we operate on cycle time. And our current cycle time from a developer picking up a piece of work to completing it and pushing it forward to UAT, accepted testing, is currently sitting at 5 days, which we're quite proud of as a team. It's something that we've measured on internally. But for our customers, what that really means is that you're always seeing constant iteration. Internally, we call it evolution, not revolution. So we're constantly evolving your storefront, and we're constantly releasing new functionality, which allows you to react to market changes, react to competitors, but also innovate and push forward with new ideas.
These team members are basically measured on the value add to clients. So that cycle time needs to correlate directly to a piece of value that has been added to the website or to the customer experience, or made someone's life easier in terms of administration, or reduced costs in some manner or form. But some form of value needs to be present with that.
Yeah, so the Magento 2 out-of-the-box functionality combined with our experience in Vaimo products and tools, the new framework that allows us to develop quickly on that, meaning that we can release functionality and features within 5 days, is really testament to the change in the platform.
So some more, these just reiterate the stats that I think Katy put up a little bit earlier, and this is taken from a multitude of clients across Magento Commerce and aggregated. So across the board, average order value growth of 10%, upwards of 10%, 39% plus conversion rate growth, and almost 50% revenue growth. These are very significant numbers, I would say, and if you're looking at an average, I think we can we can say with certainty that there's growth to be had with the move to M2. And then this is just another client's metrics that we stuck into. So year-on-year metrics post M2 migration, plus 31% in mobile transactions, plus 35% in mobile conversion rates, 11% mobile revenue growth, 16% conversion rate growth, and a positive 7% in transactions growth. And I think it's worth mentioning here, when I was looking at these stats and pulling them out, that their traffic had actually gone backwards year on year. So that, I think, is testament to what is happening on the site, that despite the fact that there were less feet coming through the door, they were converting more and at a higher value.
Yeah, I mean, some of these stats are some great stats that we've seen from doing the migration. And one of the things that I hear when I go out talking to people is that they don't want to be the first. Magento 2 is a new platform, but as Katy said, it's not really. We're 3.5 years into the Magento 2 ecosystem. We've got clients like Helly Hansen that were absolutely early adopters, but there are many more projects that have kind of gone through the pipeline, gone through the cycle, gone live, and we've now started to realize some of these great statistics that George was bringing out. So it's a tried and tested platform that we've built. Like I say, we've got 130 customers on the Magento 2 platform now. So there's lots of experience, lots of shared learnings, and with the release of 2.3, that we know that there's even more kind of benefits to be had. So we're getting to the end of the hour. And I know there was a lot of chat in the chat, so we're going to switch over to the Q&A section now. So one of the questions that we had that came in was, how much longer should we continue to develop on our M1 instance? I think that's a really good question. Maybe Katy, you'd like to have some input on this one from a Magento point of view in terms of end of life of M1 and kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah, happy to take this one, and of course we do get asked this quite frequently. So, I mean, that there are risks of staying on both the Magento Community Edition and Magento Commerce Edition of Magento 1, and there probably are several reasons why you might be delaying your replatforming decision. Overall, yes, there is going to be a cost for you to move across. It isn't a migration, it is a replatform. I think we can all, quite happily say this on this call, but, the risk from our perspective by remaining on Magento 1, you've got the security breaches to consider. So in June 2020, which is only next year, we will stop publishing community and enterprise security patches, which could potentially leave your site vulnerable when it comes to cyber attacks and hacks. And even before that, PHP 5.6 went live, was end of life in December last year, meaning that there won't be any security updates for your server software that could be hosting your Magento website. So either way you look at it, it is potentially putting your site and your customers at serious security and performance update by staying on Magento 1. In addition to that, since Magento 1 won't be supported anymore, many of the modules that you might have or extensions that you might have on your store will become outdated, and there'll be limited support because developers won't be focusing their time and effort on Magento 1. Instead, they'll be looking at putting time and effort on Magento 2. So those are often extensions and modules that you've got that are critical to your site's functionality and could start working properly without a plan for fixes or updates in the future. Something else to consider is the number of Magento 1 and 2 developers. So there are still a number of Magento 1 certified developers out there, but as Magento 2 projects came out 3.5 years ago, there are less Magento 1 certified developers that are willing to participate in projects going forward, because the agencies, will want to focus their resources, their efforts and training towards Magento 2. So from a timeline perspective, as the end of life deadline comes forward, it really is important to consider migrating now, because from experience here, we would say it takes anywhere from between 3 to 7 months for a full successful migration. So it's really about when you want to replatform by. So take into consideration the complexity of your site, the size of your product catalogue. If you've got a substantial amount of custom-built functionality or thousands of SKUs, then your migration will take longer. So it's really a case of what's holding you back. clearly we've seen today that Magento 2 outperforms better than Magento 1. And as your site performs better, your customers have a better experience, which, as we've seen from the statistics, shows leads to increased conversion rate and ultimately sales. So I hope that answers that for you. But of course, you know, my email and my phone number is going to be presented at the end of this, so I'm happy to pick up individual conversations. But I hope that was able to give you a good overview.
Yeah, that's great. And I think from our side, we would echo that. I mean, absolutely, there's end of life at 2020, but from a kind of a performance point of view and a kind of an ROI on your investment, with all of the new functionality and the performance improvements in Magento 2, it makes sense to kind of invest any budget in that project rather than, you know, trying to speed up an existing Magento 1 enterprise site or add some functionality that may already exist on Magento 2. So by migrating, you not only solve that problem, but you unlock that additional functionality. Great. So guys, if there's any more questions, throw them through. I know we had one from Dennis that I think Katy answered, but it might be good just to talk through it, which is the B2B stuff that comes on Magento 2 Commerce. Could you maybe explain that? It's a module, isn't it, that has to be added on, Katy?
Absolutely. So yeah, so within Magento 1, there wasn't really any functionality that addressed a business-to-business requirement. So unless, you know, the SI or you did it in your internal teams in terms of extending the platform then or buying an extension, then it didn't do it natively. So within Magento 2, from a capability perspective, we have looked at what a typical kind of B2B merchant would require. And with now more than 93% of business buyers preferring to purchase online, it really is more important than ever to have an online presence that meets those expectations. So we added some additional functionality to the Magento 2 Commerce version, and as Alex says, from a modular perspective. So that allows you to do things like assign custom catalogs, price list to customers. It allows you to target content and promotions to some of those specific customer segments. You can do things like automate business rules to optimize your fulfillment costs and delivery times, using different purchasing options, uploading CSV files, or choose items from preset requisition lists. So that the list goes on and on, but absolutely, we really saw a need there and a trend, and so B2B is fully part of the Magento 2 Commerce suite.
Yeah, and I think that just kind of goes on to your point as well, Katy, earlier, that Magento 1 historically was an e-commerce solution, but Magento 2 is more of a suite of tools, and that you have, you know, a B2B package, but you also have kind of OMS and your intelligence tools as well to support kind of a retailer in each of those areas.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think that is all of the questions. Of course, if you've got any more, feel free to email anyone there. We've put our contact details on the slide, so please feel free to reach out to any of us. Thanks again for joining us. Hopefully you found it useful. Yeah, and thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.